We are back. This is Looking Forward Reentry Radio, WPPM 106.5 FM. We're so glad to be here today with Jondhi, Harrell, and Niashia, Maza. And we are grateful to have you here in our studio today. We met recently in my office, and we got to talk a little bit about some work that we're hoping to be doing together. But Jondhi, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good. Niashia, how are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. A little nervous?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, all right. I promise we won't make you sing.
Okay.
We usually make people that are nervous sing, but not today. We're not going to do that. So Jondhi Harrell. Jondhi is the founder and executive director of the Center for Returning Citizens in Philadelphia. Jondhi and I know each other and first met because he is was a fellow with Just Leadership USA.
Yes.
And has done some amazing stuff in the city of Philadelphia after serving some time away in prison, incarceration, about 25 years.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and came home and he's one of these people that's had an impact in Philadelphia on the reentry population, the reentry world, and also the reentry programming that's going on. So we're going to talk to Jondhi a little bit about the work that he's doing now and a little bit about the Center for Returning Citizens. But before we even go there, Jondhi is always dressed awesomely. He's one of these guys I want to dress like. He wears that tie. He's always looks sharp. But so tell us, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. We're having an extremely good month. I think that Reentry Month is always dynamic for returning citizens in the city of Philadelphia. This month is going to be especially dynamic because TCRC Philly is opening a community healing and transformation center. It's almost going to be the last event of the month. It's going to be Friday, June 28th. The center is actually going to open the 1st of July. We're having the grand opening June 28th. I'd like to invite everyone to come out to 3609 North Broad Street. The concept behind it is so many times we talk about mass incarceration and the effects, and we talk about reentry and folks getting jobs and housing, but what's truly important is how can we heal from the effects of incarceration and our experiences both prior to our incarceration and afterward. And this center is really going to deal with that.
Awesome. So tell us, it's a Broad and what? Broad and
Erie.
Broad and Erie. So right at the corner of Broad and
Center
Erie.
Hub.
And I saw some pictures
Center
of
Hub
it
Philadelphia.
recently that were pretty remarkable. It looks like it's an amazing facility right there. And it's easy to get to, especially for people that are looking forward in some of the programs in North Philadelphia, because it's just a subway hop, right there. It's even a walk right there. It's not that far, and you're also not that far from Clearfield from probation and parole, right? You're kind of right in the
Well, you
neighborhood.
guys walk
where
right down to
everything-
us.
There you go. There you go. So tell us about the facility itself. What are you going to be doing there? What kind of programming?
What we're going to be doing, first of all, we have a program to aid children of incarcerated parents. One of the things that not enough attention is given to is what happens to kids when their parents are incarcerated. And Niashia can also speak to this because her father was incarcerated for most of her life. And how do returning citizens reintegrate as a family when they come home? And how do they provide support and healing to a family who has often suffered almost as much as they did while they were incarcerated?
So there's no question, and I think anyone that's done time will tell you that it was probably harder for your family than it was for you to actually doing the time. Niashia, I guess you experienced it firsthand. I mean, I have a daughter who's 25 that lived through it as well, 5 years away. But why don't you tell us about yourself and your journey?
Well, I think it basically opened my eyes. That's what I would say. And I never take any credit away from my mom or my dad because they are the reason why I am who I am. And part of the reason I decided to be a criminal justice major was because of my dad, was because of my mom, and I don't think people see it enough. Like when I get interviewed from other people, they ask me, well, how long was your father incarcerated? It's not how long my father was incarcerated, it's just the fact that how much impact it had on my family as a whole.
That's right.
And, my dad and I are close. He's my best friend, and we talk all the time. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, you're the reason why I do what I do. I said, now when I get my PhD, we're all going on a cruise.
Yeah.
We're gonna relax.
So tell us about the journey to being Dr. Maza. You're in school now. You're finishing up criminology major.
Yes.
And where are you at school?
So I'm at Walden University. It's online. It's very convenient, so it keeps me busy, and plus I get to focus on my work. And I also just got offered a full-time position, not a full-time position, but an adjunct position at Manor College in Jenkintown.
Awesome.
So I'll be teaching Intro to Criminal Justice. So what I like to bring to the classroom is not only what it says in the textbook, because I feel like sometimes it holds back everything that they don't know.
Right.
And I always try to bring in guest speakers and enlighten the students of how much impact mass incarceration affects the family as a whole.
So now you're the program director for TCRC, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you do? What's that entail?
So basically,
Besides controlling Jondhi.
yeah.
That's not
So I make sure that all the programs run smoothly. I make sure that the staff are treated appropriately, the clients are given fair chances, and I make sure that any employers or landlords that we deal with, they don't take our clients for granted.
Wow.
I make sure that they get a wage that they can actually live off, not like $8 an hour, which they can't sustain, you know. So I try to make sure that everything is, you know, available to our clients, because a lot of reentry organizations, they're all good, but TCRC likes to focus on not just the returning citizen, but we focus on the family as a whole, because we realize that's the solution.
Yeah. So, and I have to tell you that it can't be said loud enough that it's not just about the person coming home, it's about their family. And that's why things like the mail and photographs and books being sent in and visits and visitation rights and all those things that go along with it, even probation and parole, which puts a strain on families as well, that those things incorporate the family, and that there's an awareness of a process and what's happening, and doing more of that healing together. And I think that's what Jondhi tries to do, is tries to bring that whole family unit back together and have those discussions. And I will tell you, you know, my daughter's 25, she lived through it as well, and it was a challenge for her, but I think, you know, in the end, you know, there's so many life lessons by this journey going through it. And about humanity and about way you should treat people. So I applaud you for the work that you're doing and for diving deep into it. And I can't wait. We're gonna have you back when you get that doctorate under your belt, so we can just say Dr. Maza online.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good because it helps with the integration. What the adjustments that have to be made on one person when a person goes in and when a person comes out are different. And that's what the gradual effects of it, having the visitations, the letters, and everything that works in the process of getting together.
So some of the things I want to talk to you about, people may or may not know this, but Jondhi was very active in the election of our recent district attorney, Larry Krasner, and was a real force on the streets, getting out the vote for Larry and making sure that people knew that this was a really good, decent person who could effectuate change.
Right.
And he stuck himself out there pretty far. What do you say?
And also for the governor and for the mayor and for other politicians like Harrell, who we feel epitomize what we want for politicians. One of the things that we focus on at the Center for Returning Citizens is the fact that Pennsylvania is one of 18 states where returning citizens have the right to vote. And there's so many states where you can't vote. So it's not only a responsibility, it's a sacred right. And as returning citizens, when we come home, we have to assume the mantle of citizenship, and we have to determine our own destiny. In the city of Philadelphia, there's literally hundreds of thousands of returning citizens who should be impacting and controlling who runs our society.
Right.
Yeah, just think about it. If all the returning citizens that could vote would have voted in the last election, it really could have swung the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
It really could have swung the state of Pennsylvania. But one of the challenges, how do you get people out to vote? We had this discussion recently at a meeting, and the topic was like, how do we get people to understand how important this right is that you get out there? And one of the frustrations, and you know this, we talked about this number two, is that we recently had an election where a primary where people got elected and judges got elected, and there was not one.
Judges didn't get
elected. There was not one minority judge elected out of all the judges that were on that voting pool. And yet in places like Texas and Houston, we saw there was 18 black judges, female judges, that all got elected in one shot and took the bench. Now that's a voice and that's some power. We just haven't yet got there in Philadelphia. We're working on it, and we're trying to educate people, and I think it's a lot of work that you're doing, trying to get out that vote.
So for common pleas court, there was 6 slots for judges, and every judge who was elected in the city of Philadelphia for the May 21st primary was a white judge.
Mhm.
Now, we aren't saying that there are not some good, efficient white judges, but as you look at the defendant pool, it's overwhelmingly black. So we need more black judges on the bench who have our life experience, who are part of our culture, and who can truly understand what it means to be black in America.
Right.
So returning citizens in Philadelphia who have the right to vote have to look at those coming behind them and say, I need to vote in judges that are going to be cognizant of the black experience with my nieces and nephews and my sons and daughters, or whoever out of my community is standing in front of them. I want to put those judges on the bench, and I want to support the ones who are doing good, and more importantly, I want to get rid of the ones who are doing a terrible job.
Yeah, I think that holding people accountable by your vote is the biggest thing. Those people that aren't doing good jobs, that are in office, it's a way of saying, no, we're not going to tolerate it anymore. We have to stand up and make a change and make a difference. So I'll answer most question that was posed to me recently, but I'm going to ask it for you. If you had one wish, if you had the biggest issue in Philadelphia that you see that faces our reentry community, people that have criminal backgrounds in the city of Philadelphia, you have one thing that you could change or concentrate on, what would it be?
What I would change is the perception that, one, our vote doesn't matter, and that being organized doesn't matter. If returning citizens were organized in the city, we could literally run Philadelphia. There's over 300,000 of us. There's no single block of 300,000 voters that's voting in the same direction outside of the auspices of the Democratic Party. We could be a force inside the party. We could elect the mayor. We could elect our city council people, state reps, state senators. We could dictate the bills and the money and the programs that would flow to our community. But because we're not organized, because North Philly doesn't really mess with South Philly, or West Philly doesn't rock with Uptown, we're still divided. We're still hung up in the same type of cell block mentalities that we have when we're inside. We don't come together and say, in spite of our differences, in spite of the things that we believe, our religions, social experiences, our culture as a returning citizen should be our primary concern. As returning citizens, we share a common culture and experience. Let's come together and say, this is our position, this is our platform, these are our needs, and put everything else aside and achieve those goals.
Yeah, I agree. Nate?
Well, one of the things that I see that's happening more is that organizations are coming together and not trying to work in silos. I think that's something that's big too, because there's a lot of organizations that somebody might be a part of that doesn't really call on another organization when they don't have certain things that organization has. I think that the fact that a lot of organizations are working together to educate people more on the strength of voting and the importance of voting is working today and better than it did before. People, it's like the organizations weren't working together like they should to get people together. I think that that's happening more today than it was before, and that makes an impact as well.
I think the tragedy is that we have so much in common. There's so much commonality, between North and West Philly,
Right.
South Philly. We all face a lot of the same challenges. We still face the same issues when you want to get a job and they're looking at your background saying, no, we're not taking you. And we
Right.
still face some of the same challenges when you go to fill out that landlord application.
Yes.
And you got to check that box off that says, I'm a returning citizen. I've committed a crime within the last 10 years or 8 years or whatever it is, and you're not getting that apartment. We still have a lot of those same challenges, even licensing. Kristen, when we talk about licensing issues, you're being deprived the right to perform a trade because of something that you may have done when you were 15, 16, 17 years old, and that might have been 25, 30 years ago.
Right.
There's so many of those issues that are common that you'd think that there'd be a stronger bond, like there'd be this magnet that would pull all these sections, the people together into one body. I think we're just waiting for TCRC to do it, that's all. So I think it
Right.
is.
One more thing, Jeff. I was
Yeah.
going to say that one of the good things that's going on with this month is the fact that a lot of the programs and events are geared at the individuals as opposed to the organizations. Like you were saying, and I think that helps out a lot too, because when you were dealing with things that helped out the organization to get better, the people that were trying to be a part of this weren't getting everything they needed. I think that with the stuff that's going on with this reentry month, working towards letting the people know certain things, especially with this ban the box thing, because a lot of people hear it, know what it is, know about it, but don't know what it really entails. And I think that being educated on that within this month will be a lot as well.
Well, Jeff, I mean, one thing I want to add is I think how we articulate what these problems are very important, because they're not reentry problems.
Right.
They're social problems.
Yeah.
And they don't only affect the reentry, they affect the whole family. They affect the children, the mother, they affect everyone. And so we can't continue to talk about this like it's a reentry problem. It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
And it's a societal problem,
Mhm.
but it's also a societal responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, everyone wants to say, well, let the reentry organizations deal with it. And let the corrections departments deal with it. And it really isn't. This is an issue that really does affect everybody, but even the communities.
Mhm.
And that's why seeing a place like Jondhi that's opening up at Broad and Erie, where you're really touching the families and getting them involved in the process. There aren't enough family programs out there. I can't think of very many actually in the city. Are there any in the prison system in the DOC where they actually unite a family?
We have a family reunification.
Okay.
And so that's really been our big push at the centers. And so when individuals are coming home and they, for whatever reason, can't go to a home plan, what we found is that we need to reunite that family. And we have a housing program where we'll pay for up to 6 months for an individual to go stay somewhere. The success of that individual is crucial that the family is involved. And so why would we pay to keep them at a center when we can pay similar money to help them rent an apartment and reunite that family? And so between our family reunification program and our housing program, I think that's probably one of our #1 goals. We're trying to reunite families.
Awesome. So what else is on the radar screen with TCRC? What are you guys up to? We know you're opening up a new place. Tell us what's hot.
So we are trying to move forward. We for a long time have been working on ideas for entrepreneurship. We're working with several organizations. We formed what we call the coalition, Community Leadership Coalition, which is a coalition of organizations that are led by returning citizens, black women professionals, and black men who head organizations that are embedded in the community, that are trying to expand the footprint of their work in the city. It's extremely important that not only TCRC, but organizations like Outside and New Reentry, organizations that are dealing with specific issues like juvenile lifers, or housing for women, or research and development of the potential of returning citizens be recognized, be funded, and be moved forward. So TCRC has always been in the forefront of a movement to empower the small organizations to grow larger, to build structure, and to build capacity.
Awesome. So I saw recently, I don't know if you're a part of it, but I saw you guys had a connection with Malcolm Jenkins.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so tell us about that. How'd that happen?
Well, Jondhi, I believe, went to a meeting with the Players Coalition, and they came up with this whole concept of the football players giving back by helping with reentry. It's been really delightful working with them. They gave us a grant for like $20,000, which really helped us give our services to more clients than
Awesome.
before.
Yeah.
They gave us $45,000 in kind with Compass. They basically helped us restructure and rebrand our organization. So, I mean, if your audience is listening, TCRC is going to be having newsletters every month, spotlighting our board members, spotlighting our interns, spotlighting our clients. And we also have a YouTube channel too, Instagram and
great.
Facebook.
Yeah, I just was impressed that you guys got in the locker room. And
It's been, I can't say enough about the Eagles and Malcolm Jenkins and the Player Coalition. We were able to link with Malcolm when he first started his work. And I love the fact that when the Players Coalition decided they were going to do social justice work in the city of Philadelphia, they handpicked small organizations that were on the front lines, and they said, we can learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to us and we had discussions, and they've been very supportive, and they've listened. You know, Malcolm is the kind of guy who, what he doesn't know, he wants to learn.
Right.
You know, and he will continue to push the envelope. And it's so important for small organizations like ours to be supported by celebrities, because it not only raises our profile, but it enables us to get our message out and to raise our visibility.
Yeah,
raise our
and
visibility.
it's more than that too. It's recognition that the work that you do is what matters, and it's the people that are on the streets, that are, you know, in North Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia, that work with the population every single day, that see the challenges, that face the challenges, that can educate people, that can make those changes. And that's the big thing. Even when, you know, some of the big coalitions, and even the Reentry Council in Pennsylvania, you know, Christian and I are in Harrisburg sometimes on that. It's having those returning citizens at the table. We were recently there last Wednesday, and afterwards we took a picture, and the picture was of 9 men that stood up in front. Every single one of them had lived experience, and they're there sharing their experiences so we can change what's going on in Pennsylvania. Those things have to happen. But when you have places like the Eagles and Malcolm Jenkins that are recognizing the good work that's being done, that's how you start building that change, that dialogue for change, and that happens. So that's
Most
awesome.
definitely.
And
Cool.
Jeffrey, I
Thanks,
also
Jeff.
wanted to mention that we are going to be starting a program for children of incarcerated parents.
So tell us about
So, what this compromise of is, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous,
No
but
worries.
it's children that have been affected by mass incarceration. We're coming together. We're figuring out ways to hit the social issues that affected us when we were younger, and to prevent these kids from repeating the whole thing of having contact with the justice system, you know. And I think it's going to be a really good thing. I'm really happy about that. And we'll be starting that up in the next couple of months also.
That's great. Yeah.
It's very important to consider the viewpoint of kids. And when you talk about family reintegration, it starts with kids. When I came home, one of the issues with my kids was, can we trust you to be home? You know, twice you've left us. You know, is what you were saying real? And returning citizens have to realize the responsibility that we have to our children. We have to atone for the things we've done in the past, and we really have to create a life plan that includes our kids, that ensures their happiness and their success.
Yeah, and it can't be said any better. You know, our kids are, you know, the future, and I think a lot of times we don't share enough about the journey and the life lessons that we've learned, but our kids are the ones that have dealt with a lot of the brunt of what happened and of us being away. And I'll tell you, just from my own perspective, I have an amazing daughter, but you know, she's a strong person now, and because of some of the challenges that she faced over the last 10 years, and I'm really proud of where she's gone. But it also, you know, we came back and it was a fractured family. And so I think there's a lot more work that has to be done, and it has to be done even at a correctional level too. I mean, I was at a place where they had a family day, where they had a family picnic, where once on Father's Day, all the dads can come and spend the day with their families, just in a really, not in a glass room with bricks, but just out in the yard where, you know, they had picnic tables up and games for the kids and hot dogs and things that, you know, just brought back some humanity to the whole system. So I asked you a question, what would you change? So here was the thing that I would change. If I could change anything in our system today, I would say that we should start by ordering everyone in our corrections department to identify people in the system by their name and not their number. I think we have to start bringing humanity back into our correctional system, and we have to start recognizing that everyone that's behind bars is a human being. And they're no different than the people that oversee them and that house them and that operate those facilities. There's got to be humanity back in it, so that we can begin to understand that at some point in time they're coming home, and we have to prepare them better for it. We have to get going. So I am so glad to have everybody here. Jondhi, I am so glad, Niashia, I'm so glad. I was gonna get it. Give me a second. I was so glad you're here. Congratulations on moving forward with your PhD. Marcus Hall, always good to see you. Make sure you show up at work tomorrow. And Kristen Stevens, probation and parole, thank you again for coming out of your way to come down here, and we really appreciate it. Looking Forward Reentry Radio is here every Wednesday from 5 to 6 o'clock at WPPM 106.5. Nate, it's great to have you always.
Always good to be
One
here.
day you'll appear on time.
Oh, yeah.
Vanessa's running the board today, and she did an amazing job. So Vanessa, thank you again for taking control of the controls. And we asked everybody jump in and participate in Reentry Month this month in Philadelphia, and you can get that information at PhiladelphiaReentryCoalition.org. And this is Jeff Abramowitz of Looking Forward Reentry Radio. We're glad to have you, and looking forward to being back next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Peace.